Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Martha with Bird and Barn Designs, and today I'm going to bring you a little project share that I did and do a flip through of the sweetest little Glassine Bag Journal. I've made two of them here, and I'll talk about this one in just a moment. That was for something special. So this one is the first one that I made, and it was inspired by Kathy at Kathy's Garden. I saw her video a few days ago where she made these and they were just darling, and I could not wait to try it. I will link her video in the description box, and if you don't already follow her, like so many of us do, you have to run over to her channel. I get inspired every day by her videos. So this little journal just couldn't be cuter. I just absolutely love it. I'm using the digital kit Among the Roses by Forever Moment Designs. This is a brand new kit that she just came out with this week. So I will link her Ko-fi shop in the description box as well, so you can go take a look at that and all of her other lovely kits. So I tied it together here with a little piece of sari, or I'm sorry, not sari, seam binding. Seam binding and sari, I always get them confused. So I just did a little paper frame with some craft paper and gilded it a little bit of one of Patty's beautiful digitals of her ladies in the ephemera package. And then I just did some layering and collaging with some vintage laces, some little wedding appliques. This is a beautiful lace from Crafty Me Shop, and it's just really, really luscious, I think. So what Kathy started with was putting a strip of fabric down the spine so it kind of reinforces it, since the bags are somewhat fragile. And I really love that idea. I stamped on it like she did with my ink and my stamps, and it just gives it a little more visual interest. So here's the view from the top. I think it's so fun with all the lace and things, and then from the side, and then of course the back. So let's take a look inside. First of all, when I folded the bag, I folded it so the opening was on the top, so it made a little pocket. And inside the pocket, I put a couple of tags. And again, these are the ephemera pieces from the Among the Roses. And I just put the embellishments on the side so you could see them coming out the side of the bag. So here's another one of the beautiful tags. I just think they're so pretty. And then for a little more stability, I just added some of the tags that I did not use in the journal making, and then a piece of embossed cotton paper. And then that just gives it a little more stability there on the top where the opening is. So I did stamp inside my bag as well, and this is a coffee dyed bag. So we'll open up to the first page, and again, to add more stability, I put an envelope here, and instead of making an envelope because it wouldn't open correctly in this small area, I tucked the flap in and glued it down so it made a pocket. So you can use those as pockets as well. So isn't she pretty? And then I love how you can see the stamping all around. Did a little bling embellishment there. And then I did a real foofy topper on the pretty tag so it sticks out the top. So that is that page. And then there's not a whole lot of embellishing in here because of the size of the journal, but there's enough that it gives it some interest. There's beautiful pages for writing. I double printed on there so you had a color in the back. Put some vintage book page in here. And then I just cut her pages down so they fit in the little journal. This was one of her pockets that she has in the ephemeras, and I just tucked a little yard of lace in there, put some pretty little embellishments on it. The recipient can use that in future projects. And then I've got some ledger page,
And then I just put a little piece of extra fabric that I didn't, or lace that I didn't use, just to give it some texture. Look at that beautiful page with the pretty dress and the roses. And then some dictionary page, vintage dictionary page. And then another of her pretty papers. And then some vintage music page that I coffee dyed. And then I just put some little beads on the bottom for some fun. I just love the little beads on the oh, what am I trying to say? On the oh my goodness, I just lost my words. On the thread that you use for the binding. Oh my goodness, the wax thread. So then we just keep flipping the beautiful pages. I think, let's see, I put about 5 or 6 of her printed pages in here, and then mix some of the little book page and ledger page. I just love the ledgers. They're so pretty. Look at that pretty page there. And then here I've got another one of her pockets from the ephemera kit. And again, I put a poofy topper on the top so it sticks out the top of the journal. And then another one like I did on the front for this last page. I used the envelope and tucked the top in for a pocket. And then just added a fluffy little tassel on the top of this beautiful card so it sticks out the top. So we'll put that back in. And then on the back page, I ran another piece of this lace that was on the bottom of the front. I ran it down the side to give it a little more stability there as well, and then also to make a tuck spot. And I put just a simple topper on a tag there and a piece of embossed paper that I didn't use. And here you can see better because it's not so heavily embellished. You can see the coffee dye, you can see the pretty stamping, and then the muslin that I used and stamped on. And I just think that's so pretty. So that was my first attempt. I just think they're so cute. I'll put all the ephemera back in. We'll tie her up for just a minute. And then we'll look at this one. And this one was made specially for a swap partner. I have a Facebook group with a couple friends of mine, and it's called the Inspire Craft Room. And I will put that link in the description as well. And we do some swaps in there, and we did an acrostic swap. And I think they are so fun. So if you don't know what an acrostic swap is, it is where you have a word, and then you take the first letter, or you take the first letter in the, or each of the letters in the word, and you equate it to something craft related. So for our journal, since it was, or for our swap, since it was the month of February, I chose the word heart to do the swap in. And so my letters was H, I used a hanky. E, I used embossing. A, I used some amber beads, you'll see in there. R, I used some ribbon here on the front. And for T, I used texture paste. So those were all the words coordinating with the letters in the word heart. And for this particular journal, I'm using another one of Patrice's kits from Forever Moment Designs, and this one is called Roseraire Jardin, and it is gorgeous as well. So I used a piece of her ephemera here on the front cover, and I made another little paper frame out of some vintage book page. Of course, I've got the ribbon for the letter R here, little dangle, some wedding applique, and then some layered lace down here. And then here's where my little amber beads come into play. I was stretching for a letter A, and I don't know why nothing was coming to me, so I thought I'll use the amber beads because I think that looks so pretty.
So that's what that is. So again, I put the fold or the open part of the glassine bag on the front. So inside I've got a couple little goodies here. So we've got one of her lovely ladies from the ephemera pieces. And again, the embellishments went on the side. Look at how pretty that one is. Pretty journaling card. And then I've used my texture paste. Put some pretty roses to coordinate with the roses on the journaling card. And then I just brought the lace around the back. I like to do that now and again to just add some visual interest. So I have those two in there. And then I put a piece of wallpaper in there. And then for this journal, rather than tying it, because this part stuck out so far, I just used a little clip. And I tied this cute little tassel on here. Just little strips of lace so it sticks out the side. And I just clipped it together. So inside this one, I lined this side with some music page. And then on this side, I used some washi tape, some very wide washi tape. And made a little tuck spot. And here's where my H came into play. I used a vintage hanky. And I cut it and I made a pocket there with it, a little belly band, and tucked a pretty little card inside. So that one goes in there. You see just enough of the little lace to know that there's something in there. And then here's some pretty pages from her kit. I chose some vintage bill heads to use in here, and I used the pink to coordinate with the pink in the kit. And then more of her lovely journaling pages. And I printed front and back using her kit, so there's this very beautiful subtle pattern on that one. And then another piece of ledger page, which I love. And on this one, I used one of her pockets, and it was a long pocket, so I cut it down to fit my page. And then I used one of her journaling cards, or her little tags, and I just put a little tall lace topper on that one so you can see it out the top, and then brought the pretty lace around the back. I thought it looked really pretty with this marbling effect on the paper. And then here's a piece of a vintage dictionary page. And then this one is so pretty. This was a whole room scene on the digital page. It was really pretty. And I used another piece of a pocket that I cut down, and I just paper clipped in a little folio from a vintage foreign book. And look at the patina on that. The coloring is so beautiful. And then some vintage little tickets that I received in the mail yesterday, actually. And then here's where my E came into play. I've got some embossing here. This is a Lorna Taylor stamp. I just love her stamps. And then more pretty pages. So you've got a lot of writing room in here. And then since it was a heart acrostic word, I just put a little heart in the center as a nod to the project. And then more pages. Here's the back page with some more embossing. I don't know if the metallic shows up so well with the light shining on it. And then another one of her pretty pockets. And this one I just did a little topper with some seam binding and some vintage crochet lace. And this was a really pretty page. You can see the pattern on that page. I love that for a backing page because you have the beautiful pattern, but it's not so bold that you can't write on it. So there is that one. And then more of the dictionary page, more writing space. So even though this is a tiny journal, it's got plenty of writing in it. And then here's some more embossing. I cut down another one of her pockets and I did some embossing. And this was a fun experiment. I didn't have any colors really that I wanted to use besides my white texture paste. So I took some alcohol ink and I mixed it with my texture paste and it came out with this beautiful color, and I just think it looks so pretty with the colors in that pocket. That was the first time I had tried to tint texture paste with anything. I was kind of skeptical if the alcohol ink would work or not, but it worked beautifully. And then here's another beautiful journaling card from the ephemera kit, and I just made a little lace flap for some secret writing on there. I think that looks so pretty. And then we flip over to this one. I used some faux age tape on there, then more writing. And then in this last page I used another portion of the vintage hanky, and I just turned it under and made it a little more stable there and fastened it down. And then with a piece of the hanky that I cut off, I made this little ruffle on there, and over time it should fringe really pretty, I think. And then inside we've got a vintage picture and another one of the pretty journaling cards. I like to make the back as pretty as the front quite often. So that just tucks in there. And then on the back of this one, because I made these two tags originally to go in the inside and they became too bulky, so the journal just it wouldn't close right. Even when I clipped it, it was just bulging and it looked strange. So I thought, well, I'm just going to put the rest of the hanky back here, and I will just clip with my rusty paper clip the two tags that were too bulky to go on the inside, and then that gives a little visual interest for the back. So I just held that together with some little rondelles, and then you can see the pretty embroidery on that. And then my first little tag was these pretty ladies. Looks like they're having book club and tea. And then there's just a little safety pin with some little rondelles on there, the pretty crinkled seam binding, and then I took some vintage lace around the back and put a little pearl detail on there. And then on this one I just used the pink and a little paper flower, and between the paper flower and the knot on the bow and the pin, it just poofed it up too much. And then I just brought it around the back and put a little pearl there. So that is that one. I just think they turned out so cute. I'm just so in love with these little journals. They're the perfect size for a little gift, and I just think they look so pretty from the top and the side. And then the other day I brought you a video where I made this glassine bag all embellished, and this does not go with the kit. It's a different kit, but this was kind of an afterthought when I was getting ready for the video. It has a snippet and a journaling card and a waterfall little scrappy pad in there, and I'll link that video in the description box as well. But as I was setting up for this video, I thought, you know what, how cute would it be to take the Glassine Bag Journal and embellish a glassine bag and just tuck it inside for a little gift. How adorable is that? I just think that is so cute. What a sweet little Happy Mail surprise for somebody, or a hostess gift if you were going out, or if you were meeting your girlfriend for lunch. Just a cute little something to pass along. So that is my project. I hope you like it. I will be linking all of the people in all of the videos in the description box below. I appreciate you watching, and all of your likes and comments are so appreciated. And I'm working on my giveaway. Since I reached 1,000 last week, I am working on a wonderful giveaway. So stay tuned, because I'll be announcing how to enter in that giveaway very soon. And I just thank you all so much for watching. I hope you come back and see me again. And if you liked the video, please give me a like, and I look forward to the next time. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Bye.